and now she has a baby, and she and her husband work up in Ohio at a school, and she has been working on my materials, making them into books. And I'm so impressed. I'm going to be an author. and she puts it together, and it really looks like a book the way she puts it together. And the sword has 3 of them now, and is deciding upon one at this time. And then she's sending them to other places. And she just got out all these 13 years of writings, you know, and was able to put together. She's one that's like that, you know. But I said, remind me, Leslie, that if I get discouraged or I get real sick, just get me a ticket to Louisiana. I said, now you know, it's the South, and I love the South, but you also know I was from Chattanooga and Western North Carolina, and that's my favorite. It's not the South I'm talking about, not just any place in Louisiana, but send me to Pam and Richard White, because they say all this good stuff about me, and I look and I'm saying, wow, this is really, I am really something. To talk fast. How to become an effective communicator. Always, we're told, keep the lines of communication open. The most important thing in marriage is communication. Don't you hear that over and over again? Child-parent communication. Always keep the lines of communication open. But how do you do it? That's the important thing. It's sort of like, you know, we tell kids, now have a good attitude. Now, have a good attitude. What is a good attitude? We don't tell them what a good one is. They really don't know what it is or how you get it, you know. Or you say, be sure you're in the center of God's will. Well, how do you know? How do you know? We don't ever, a lot of times we tell people what to do, but we don't tell them how to do it. And I'm not sure that it's sort of like when Joy wanted some of those funky shoes about 5 years ago. Do you remember when orthopedic shoes came out and they were in style? And my mother had to always wear them because she had polio, and we hated them. I started saying, Joy, you're not going to get those. And I thought, go ahead, let her get them. Maybe boys won't look at her legs. Funky, ugly Oxford shoes, you know, old funky shoes. You know, so I said, oh yeah, honey, they're good. So we got them, you know. But sometimes we start putting our preferences in there, and you know, we just don't want it because it's our preference. And if it is our preference, let's say, honey, that's not my preference. Don't get those. I don't like them. They're ugly. But let's don't act like it's sin. Yeah. It's on the side of the bed, and the king-size bed goes clear over the side as far as she can go. And the husband says, what's wrong? And she said, nothing. And pretty soon, you know, the ingrate goes to sleep. I mean, he believed her. That shows that we communicate without saying anything, because you know he knows something's wrong. He's just acting like he's going to take your word for it. And pretty soon you go, did you let the dog out? And around he comes, you know, if he's a good husband, you know, and you manipulated him to do that. And he comes around and figures, well, I'm not going to get a night's sleep anyway. Let's do some making up and having fun. Have whoopee. Things guys want to talk about: guns, cars, sports, and jobs. That's about it. I don't know too much else. I know some have other hobbies and so forth, but generally speaking, maybe some of your husbands don't care for these things, and this isn't what they want to talk about. But if you took the general man of the United States of America and be that, somewhere in that, their job, and we don't go into any of those. So what we're really doing is we're asking them to talk with us at our level. And what we want to talk about is the sink, the toilet, the dishwasher, our friends and what our friends said, and who's mad at whom, and the children, and houses and clothes. And they don't care about any of that. I know I'm making a general statement. I know some of your husbands love to know everything about the house. I know there are some husbands that do. But a lot don't. And they like these other things. People, I don't give a hoot about learning anything more than I already know about sports. I know about all I want to know for the rest of my life. But I have found a way to communicate with my husband sports without learning it. I mean, I love psychology. And there's a story behind every one of those players on those teams. So I start talking to him and get the story out of him, and that's really interesting to me. And I don't have to fake one of those deals when you're dating, and you say, they tell you in Ann Landers, see what he's interested in, and then get interested in. And, and so you go, tell me about it. I don't have, and you go into this other person, who isn't even interested in this. Now, if you can get interested in these things, go ahead and do it. But if you can't find a way that you can share it on your own level, that will meet your own emotional needs. I love to know stories of anybody. I mean, you could tell me about Gus the Garage Man, and I'd love it. I like to go back, maybe that way. How come he knows this? How did he find it out? And I've got a million questions about everybody. And I find people very, very interesting, very, very fascinating. And therefore, I would love to know about all the sports, the people, and I don't have to know about the game. And Bear Bryant, my husband did love Bear Bryant. I mean, I don't know if the guy was a Christian or not, but if he wasn't, my husband would have prayed him in afterwards, Even though he doesn't believe that, he'd have been over to the Catholic Church lighting candles. I mean, after Melvin Meister got down here, Melvin Meister standing, we've got a great big picture of Bear Bryant up downstairs in our family room. I mean, up right there with Doc Bob Jones Sr., Lee Roberts, and all the other great giants of God. I'm not kidding. And so I get into that. And when the activities department at our college wanted to do something for him, I said, try to get him a ticket on the 50-yard line, so he can watch Bear Bryant. They didn't get it done. But I mean, they got a football that he signed, and they got different things from him, and they would have, if he just hadn't died, I mean, maybe they sent him to his grave, I don't know. To look at his soul. I'm not sure what they can do about that. But honestly, I mean, we talked about Bear Bryant, and I got really interested in it. And I read books about Bear Bryant, and I found that I could really, really understand how he could command my husband's respect in how he coached those boys. And in the Well, how do you like my outfit? It's reunion, and laid back and all that. I'll dress up prettier tonight. I don't mean this isn't pretty. It's pretty. I think it's really pretty, don't you? But I mean, more dressy. That's what I mean. I bet not many 60, almost 61-year-olds with ovarian cancer stage 4 could look as good as I'm looking. I knew you wanted to say it, so I thought I'd just say it for you. I mean, you can't say it, so I'll say it for you. People, it even makes my orthopedic shoes look like sports shoes, doesn't it? Had you noticed that? And I got the tights on and everything. Oh, excuse me, Brother Wolf. And had you noticed I'd lost weight? I never lose it out of character. I always have to get sick to lose it. But I did lose it. People watch out, look at me good, because as soon as I get my appetite back, it will come back with a vengeance. I'll be going after carrot cake and pumpkin pie and all those good vegetables. Right now, I'm eating cauliflower and all that kind of stuff. But don't you like cheeseburgers? Aren't they good? Oh boy, but nothing's good right now to me. So I've got a whole new wardrobe. Um, First, when I went 6 months ago to find out why I was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and parts of me were getting smaller and parts of me were getting bigger, and we got new clothes, and we got bigger clothes for me because I had to have bigger clothes for my stomach because my big old tumor and everything. And then we had to have smaller clothes because chemotherapy made me, have to have smaller clothes. And Carol Fry's my nurse. And she sits and asks me about 25 things. You want this? Do you want that? I never thought I'd have to have people ask me, does this sound good? Does that sound good? No, nothing sounds good. No, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. And I got a letter from Mayo yesterday that said I'm anorexic. I was so proud I'm having it framed. Spoke at that pastor school, and as women helped me, I saw those women who came literally sob, what should we do? What should we do? And I knew it was the first time I realized they wanted to change. And I thought back on times in my churches. I grew up in a liberal church, and I can remember they're saying, we'll have a prayer meeting, and the men will be here, and you women, you can go over and gossip here. Where they'd really say it. And so we really did it. We'd hurry up and get our prayers said, and while we prayed, we'd say, bless Mary and John, they're having trouble. And so sure enough, they did, We programmed ourselves for that type of thing. And I thought how few of us actually have ever had a pastor. I even had pastors say, I don't understand women. And so we didn't have, and they didn't care much less whether they ever learned anything about women. It's been wonderful these years to have a pastor who endeavors as much as is humanly possible to understand ladies and to care about them, young ladies, little girls, older ladies, and to see to it that he learned how to be a pastor to ladies too. I have a pastor now, and I've had a pastor for many years, and I thank God for that. But this was originally in the October 1975 Christian Womanhood paper. I do not know that I could make entirely clear to an outsider the pleasure I receive through teaching. I had rather earn my living by teaching than in any other way. In my mind, teaching is not merely a life work, a profession, an occupation, a struggle. It's a passion. I love to teach. I love to teach as a painter loves to paint, as a musician loves to play, as a singer loves to sing, as a strong man rejoices to run a race. Teaching's an art, so great and so difficult to master that a man or a woman can spend a long life at it without realizing much more than his limitations and mistakes and his distance from the ideal. I took that from William Lyon Phelps. But how much I believe that. I can hardly read it without choking up. Thank you for some of you, letting me be a teacher. Because a teacher is a spiritual reproducer. A teacher who is teaching on those things based on the Word of God. A teacher who is teaching Christianity is one who is into the business of spiritual reproduction. One who's a life changer. One who is in league with the Holy Spirit. I almost hesitate to say that. To think that you and I can be co-teachers with the Holy Spirit. Of course, he's in us, and he is so much more, and I wouldn't begin to blaspheme, to act as if we should even act, but that he allows us to have a part in teaching. Every one of you is teaching right now. In how you sit here, in how you come here, in how you go to the meal tonight, in what you say, you're going to be teaching. you're going to be spiritually reproducing. Some of the greatest things that have been said to me have been things people didn't even know that they were saying. My mother started telling me when I was a young girl, well, I was wanting to go to a high school dance. And I don't know why, because I could never dance. And I couldn't do anything like that. I can't. All I can do is move my mouth. But I guess that's why I love to teach. Your daughter. I'm your teenage daughter, and you tell me to do something, will you?
I need you to go clean that room. It is not clean. I mean, most girls could clean their room. Can you clean your room? I'm just asking you to go clean. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Nothing.
You're doing nothing.
Nothing.
If you only saw your eyes right now, you're doing something.
Asking God to help me with this woman. She helps me. And I need her. But more than I need her here, I need her spiritually reproducing for me. You're my ticket to tomorrow. I can't go to New Guinea. I don't even want to. I went once and it stunk so bad. Heaven will smell prettier. I don't want to. But I want her to. There's some Malamandans, some tribes people who don't know Jesus. The last tribe, they helped open up their language. Many have been saved just within the last, 53 is within the last month. Within the last month. And she and her husband helped break down the tribal language so they could hear the gospel in the tribal language. You're my ticket to tomorrow. Margaret, come on, Tabitha. Nancy Perry used to sit here in a wheelchair, and you saw her up in that was who that lady was on the wheelchair. This is her daughter-in-law. This daughter-in-law took care of her like Ruth took care of her daughter-in-law. Is that right? Ruth took care of her daughter-in-law. Like Ruth took care of her. She really did. Oh, they'd have fusses once in a while and everything, but not much. And this is Tabitha, her daughter. Margaret, you're my ticket to tomorrow. Tabitha, Nancy's granddaughter, you're my ticket to tomorrow. Your work shall follow after you. I won't die. If I die 30 years from now or tomorrow, I won't die. Not as long as Linda, come up. Linda Stubblefield started working for me 20 years ago, Linda. In Christian Womanhood, she puts out the Christian Womanhood paper. And 3 new books are out this week because Linda learned Christian woman typesetting for the Christian Womanhood paper. And now 3 new books by preachers have been put out this week. You're my ticket to tomorrow. Tell them about the books.
Well, this was prepared, can you tell?
Not the others, but this one.
I was doing the spectacular for several years, and Mrs. Evans can attest to this, and women would go home and write back in and say, well, why can't you have a meeting like that for the men? Or they'd write back and say, well, why don't you do some books for the men? Well, I can finally say we have one. It's called Honor Thy Father, My Father, My Hero by Ray Young. And
this week. Came out this week.
This week. And his wife says next to the Bible, it's the best book you can get.
Cool. And I said, well, I'm not a spiritual giant. Now, wasn't that a profound thing to say? And she said, I don't expect you to be a spiritual giant. I said, well, what do you expect? She said, I expect you to be teachable. And I had never heard those words before. And I said to myself, I think I can do that. And so I started off with Mrs. Evans basically being my teacher. And I wrote down, she's 5 different things to me. As my teacher, you have been patient, you have been strong, you've been persistent. You have taught me about human relationships and spiritual reproduction. You've taught me more than any other teacher I've ever had. I didn't like teachers when I came here. I'd had a lot of teachers mishandle me. You have taught me to love teachers and teaching. All of my relationships are better because of you. As my mentor, you have taken thousands of phone calls through the past 2 decades when I so desperately needed your advice and asked, could I get your thinking on? And then I would hurry next door to the girl who was sitting in my office and tell her what Mrs. Evans had said, not letting the girl know that I had ran over to my secretary's office and said, a girl is here and needs help and I don't know what to say. Mrs. Evans, what can I say to this girl? And she'd tell me what to say and I'd run back over and say, now, dear, here's what you need to do. I can't number the number of calls I did that to, times that I called her. As a fellow conference speaker, you took a chance on a young nurse who knew nothing about being a lady speaker. You've critiqued me. Sometimes I was hurt in order that I could learn to be a better teacher. As my patient, and ladies, I always say this when I mean it, you are the easiest patient I've ever cared for. You don't complain. You never whine. You accept the bad news from the doctors with grace, and you square your shoulders and you take it. I've heard you ask the doctors for the whole truth, and then I've seen you smile graciously and take it. As my friend, you have created some of the most wildly funny moments of my entire life. Your familiarity has not breeded contempt, but admiration. You have stayed my friend when I have been immature and selfish. Your friendship has extended beyond me to my family. You are the reason Keith Fry, Bud Fry, and Bertha Fry, although they are gone to heaven, as Hebrews says, they being dead yet speaketh. I have books about them because of you. I don't deserve your friendship, and I am debtor. I love you.
Tonight, how you take your problems, and it's not that you don't cry, it's that you cry as those who have hope, that you smile through your tears, and that you have your hurts and your heartaches too, but that you're just different, and people look at you, they're different, it's spooky to them, and then they go, you know, what is it? And that gives you your opportunity to tell them about the Lord Jesus Christ. I found out a long time ago that I wasn't compatible with anyone. You know, if you leave those with whom you become incompatible, you'll leave everybody. We all have so many. Aren't you all opinionated? I've got opinions about opinions. I mean, just name anything. Just name anything, and I've got an opinion about it. People will say, she's an opinionated woman. And I think, well, which one is it? But for that matter, which man isn't opinionated too? And which child? They say, the strong-willed one. Which one is it? Some show it different than the other. Do you know that every child's a problem child? Some of them just show it different, but every child's a problem child. I'm almost sorry for the one that's not recognized as one because they don't get the discipline. And then when they get older, you find out that they were a problem child too. I got a sister like that. I was a loudmouth. My sister, poor thing, she's such a bad person. And she was so sweet that my parents didn't know it. She didn't get the beatings, and now she's in Sing Sing. No. is it 2.5 years after chemo if you take chemo, or is it, or will some live a lot longer? Because on average, somebody's got to live longer and someone less time. And I just started trying to figure all that out, and then I thought, aw, shucks, why not just live until I die? And then I thought, that's all I've ever been able to do anyway. Marlene, Christians just don't talk like that. And I thought in my mind, I do. And every other Christian I knew did too. My dad was the kind that we just, if we didn't like anybody, we just threw them out. You know,
Crazier than a hoot owl.
yeah, we just in our minds dismissed them, so we just lost people just like that. But now I did have a mother who was crippled from polio from the time she was 3 years old, who was so sensitive toward people that if we bought something from one store in our little town, we had to go put the package in the car rather than to go into another store and them see that we had bought something at the first store. We might hurt the store owner's feelings. So I did have some of that and did want to be a peacemaker, but I was captivated by my dad. And he says, tell it like it is, just be sure, let it all hang out, type thing. And so it took me 11 years with Mrs. Holbrook before I could have done this with her, see. She says I'm this and that with it, but some people had to work awfully hard on me about it.
But see, now, when she goes to heaven, folks, she will live on through me. She's not going to be dead.
And Mrs. Holbrook's
Is still
went to heaven 2 or 3 years ago, and she's living on through me and then through her and through the people she teaches. Do you see how it works? Isn't this great?
But you have a choice, remember, every time you create something negative about yourself. I don't like this about myself. What am I going to do about it? Am I going to sit and feel sorry, depressed, eat more chocolate, get fatter? Or am I going to get up and go to somebody who that is their strength and I can learn that?
What about that woman that locked it because that woman that wouldn't speak to you? And finally, she asked you one day, and I had
One day, okay, after about 4 weeks.
It was so good.
She has to tell me what they mean. One day after 4 weeks, the woman, the Polish Catholic, very devout. She wears a St. Christopher medal around her neck. She goes by, and I was sitting there, and she looked at the time card. She goes, "Did you get to eat lunch today?" And I went,
She hasn't talked to her for 4 weeks.
yeah, hi, that kind of person. And I said, yeah, I grabbed some. I said I sat down for 10 minutes. She goes, walked out the door. Now, how would you think that was good? So I told her that, and she goes,
wow, Carol, you made a big victory with her. Another 3 things. Wear clothes that help you do. People, I grew up as a teenager in Nebraska, and we wore jeans and all that type of thing. It's hard enough for me to act like a lady, let alone wear clothes that promote it. I mean, wear clothes that help you sit like a lady. You say, it's so hard. I know. By the time I get my arthritic hips together and get it all together, it's about time for me to go home and go to bed. Stand like a lady and walk like a lady. I'm burned up about this situation, not at people, about the situation. My sister, whose husband is an airline pilot, was getting ready to go back on standby at first class, as they can do when their husband's an airline pilot. We were in Ohio for a wedding, and she started to have her little boy's clothes changed. I couldn't believe it. He was already dressed so sharp, had a shirt with a collar, a knit collar, and I said, he looks fine. What's the matter? And she said, oh, when we fly airlines, we have to dress this way. The airlines can make you dress a certain way. Well, let the Lord tell us how he wants us to dress. Well, people don't go by me. Ask him. How does he want you to dress? Not so you do so. I pray, Lord, that you'll bless them and show them what you want them to do and then help them to know how to do it. Help them